All right. Hey, everyone. Uh, Welcome to the IBM Cloud Provider meeting. This is our first meeting of the year. So it's glad to be back with the meetings. And Happy New Year. My name is Saleh Zala, your meeting host today. And please keep in mind that this meeting is it's being recorded. It's a public meeting, so be considerate of what you speak about. And with that, I'm gonna put the agenda link in the chat. If you want to take a look, we don't have so many things, but we still have a few things in the agenda, some updates and stuff like that. Should I share my screen? I think I can go ahead and share it. Why not, right? Okay, it's not gonna work, I guess. It's asking me to do, well, actually, let me do that. Hold on, I was trying to share and it says some privacy concern and I need to do some setup there.
That's okay, we can follow along.
Exactly, and let me make you co-host, because Richard, so just in case.
Okay.
Some pops up came up that it will kick me out of meeting if I don't set up those things and whatnot. So let's just follow with the screen, right, on your own laptop or computer. All right. So the first thing, Richard, we talked about it. Mike, we've been thinking that moving our current biweekly meetings to monthly meetings. And I guess a lot of providers, SIGs are doing it. They're moving from biweekly to the monthly. Even Kubernetes community meeting, the weekly meetings are now moved to monthly. So I think monthly meeting should be good enough. We have a Slack, we have a mailing list, emails, right? So if anything needs to be discussed, we are always there for any discussion. So Richard, like I said, it sounds good to you, Mike. Yeah.
Yeah, it does actually on the subsegs. I'm a little confused by why. I don't know if you know why the Kubernetes guys did their community meeting went to monthly. It was an extremely well attended community meeting.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and while I was taking one of the survey, it did ask like, how often did you attend those meetings and found it useful or not? And I'm like, I found it useful. I pretty much attended all of them.
Yeah,
Unless
the
I could.
Kubernetes community meeting. I mean, every week you had a 15 minutes of something being demoed, and then you got status and everything. It's missing that heartbeat. I think is going to be odd for the community.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm like I said, I liked it, and I know Mike, I think we both typically attended it. But I think lately what I noticed, I don't know if you noticed that too, Mike, but I know at one point those meetings had up to like 70, 80 people attending it.
Right.
Yeah, lately in last few months, I think the attendance was really low, like 20 people or 25 people, kind of.
Well, in the holiday months, that always happens, right? Thanksgiving, between that and Christmas,
well, that's
you always
true,
have.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I mean, I noticed it was even that was a case even like in August.
Okay.
Yeah, but otherwise, yeah, you're right, Mike. I mean, November, December, that's expected. But I think even earlier than that, typically, you see the SIGs who are providing updates. So like few folks from those SIGs and, some of the other people providing updates and, some regular pips, right? But at one point, yeah. So
I think it depends on the cadence of the product. If you're going to slow down the release cycle, it makes sense to don't only talk about the release, a certain number of times. But if you're gonna, if we've accelerated the release cycle in Kubernetes, and you're only going to have 2 community meetings for every release now, basically, right?
Oh, with once a month
With
kind
content,
of.
with content for the release. Yeah, you're only going to have 2 meetings now, and then another release goes out. So the
Yeah.
it seems a little silly to be pushing. If you're looking for some feedback to go to the go to the community meeting, the project organizers. I think that one. I don't understand that.
I agree. I agree. I mean, like I said, I always enjoyed those meetings and found it very useful too, right? Not just,
Oh yeah. Where do we get the information now, right? About the changes
Yep.
that happened over that month, right?
Yep. I agree. And I don't know why from week to monthly, it's even without, I don't know if there was any consideration on bi-weekly as well, but not sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I was waiting for them to go to daily on the community meeting. with a 3-month ship cycle, you think you'd have a daily, some kind of daily meetings, but I'm just saying it doesn't make sense not to get together if you have a lot of content. Now, if you don't have a lot of content, it makes sense to spread it out a little bit further, right? But then you got to focus more on the agenda.
Yep. Exactly.
So yeah, the only thing I was going to bring today is I had a couple of items where we probably want to start tracking caps that are related and interesting to the IBM products in here. That maybe throw that on. If you're going to go to monthly, we could throw that on the agenda. Some kind of list of caps that the IBM products are waiting for or requiring, so we know which ones to focus on when we're doing communications with the upstream communities.
So are you, I'm trying to put that in agenda as well, Mike. So what kind of caps you're talking about? Like any caps from IBM?
Security, yeah, things related to security, right? Items where IBM products are requesting, focus on particular caps. I'm not sure. We have some, we have a Knative meeting that happens once a week, right? Where we talk about some stuff, but we usually don't, upstream that communication except through, SIGs. But interestingly enough, we don't upstream our need for IBM products to the IBM, to this IBMCloud SIG, right? Even though cloud is the group that needs these caps in Kubernetes.
Yep, and that's where I mean it'll be great, Mike, if you have some ideas on having those caps come to the SIG, right? I mean, I guess like from product standpoint, we have Richard here on the call, right? Richard represents IKS side. We have a Khalid who represents the cloud private side, and myself from open source, right? As in 3 co-chairs kind of
right.
Structure, right? So I mean, if there is any caps from IKS, I'm sure Richard, if it's appropriate, you will bring it to here, right?
Well, yeah, I know you guys were merging with all the other SIGs, right?
Right. So the cloud provider SIG is now one SIG. All other SIGs like IBM Cloud,
right.
Azure and whatnot, they're all now sub-project. It's already been happened.
That's right. So I'm thinking maybe the IBM Cloud groups would come through this SIG to promote, to the other SIGs, and you could pick, IBM Cloud, requests this cap to be given focus, right, for some next release, and then maybe you can get the other clouds to agree, and then that would put some pressure on SIG Node, for example, to put a resource, a body, because the cloud SIG needs this work done, right? Cloud SIG doesn't generally have, enough weight, enough pressure that they can apply, I don't think, to the other, unless somebody's, all the different clouds are coming in and saying we need this feature. Especially stuff like security and policy management,
Yep. And
right,
and that's, I mean, so like we from bi-weekly to monthly, so we're gonna have monthly meetings. Then the cloud provider SIG itself, they have bi-weekly meetings, right? And then anybody is everybody's welcome to join there. typically from our side, Richard and I attend it. From other cloud provider, we have one or two folks joining those calls.
Okay.
Right. And I mean, that's the place, like you said, if we have something specific that we want to discuss from IBM Cloud side, of course, like, we have representative there, right? We can, like you said, so, I mean, I like it. It just, bringing those caps, as we create one, right? So other related thing, Mike, is, if you look at the agenda, so that was actually the next item. Right. If you look at the agenda, the updates on API provider, right. So I think there is one, two things I mentioned there. The first one was I just want to give updates on that project because it's a sub project of this particular sub project. Right. So it's like we have a code repo there. So those work basically, if you open any of those issues, that's where like this one particular, the 980, the issue, right? So that came from us. Guangya opened this issue.
Gotcha.
In the cluster API side to support managed Kubernetes provider with the cluster APIs, right? So and then I think I have a sublink there where a proposal is already created. Right. So, I mean, so that's, some of this work related to the cluster API, caps, any other features, other issues. I mean, that's being discussed there. And we try to provide updates here as possible.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's, and I think, that's something, this is one of the topic before going to open the issue, we discuss it here actually as part of this SIG, right? This provider sub-project meeting. Cool. So yeah, I think proposal is already there. So hopefully this will go forward and, eventually, the desired support will be there. And just with, and the other just updates on that, they are moving on to using latest version of the cluster API. So
gotcha.
Yeah, the only thing, Mike, here a little challenging is the team who is working on this the repo, like more dedicated, they are all in China. So we have the, with this particular meeting.
Time of the meeting, right?
Yeah, and we tried different times.
I like using a document like you've got here just to keep, a list of the keps that you're keeping track of, or, and I'm saying the word kep a lot, right? You're right. I mean, a list of features, right, that we need, right? Whether or not they're in kep or not, or a list of PRs or something, right? Something like that, or open issues.
Okay. Exactly. I think that makes sense, Mike, because caps going to be a limited, right? You're not going to have so many caps. It's like, if something big, yeah.
In other words, it would be nice if I had a place that I could go, and instead of using my own, Apple Notes comments where I'm keeping track of the PR work, right? it'd be nice if there was a place where we IBM are keeping track of this. At least with regard to how we're communicating upstream, what's missing and what needs more focus, right? So that we can publicize that. That's what I'm looking for. But then downstream, I just need a place where I can store my notes.
Yeah. Yep. No, definitely makes sense. And we try to put it here. Like I said, it's also part of the repo as well. But yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
All right. Cool.
Yep. Thanks. And I think we'll keep it in mind all the time. I mean, with interest from you, Mike. I think it's a good thing, right? It's a great thing to have it, sort of listed and sort of to refer as an history.
One example. I've got one. I don't have a kept number for you yet, but IBM was requesting policy management on images, insofar as being able to support a multi-node environment, a multi-tenant environment on a single node. For example, today if you pull an image on a node, another pod from another tenant can have access to the image, unless you block all use of all images for all pods from a cache, which means pull always. You have to have a pull always policy in Kubernetes today if you got multiple tenants on one node. Otherwise, they can share the same images, which is a problem because that the image being shared could be encrypted or could have private information, or it could, it could require a secure pull from a private registry, but then another pod comes along and uses that same hash value, and boom, he can, that other tenant now has access to the images, right? And there's a lot of other policy things that we want to do that just aren't supported in Kubernetes today. The IBM group has been, throwing stuff at me. So I'm going to create a cap for image policy management in Kubernetes. We're going to re-architect how Kubernetes does that, and we'll have to push that down to the core runtimes and the nodes, yada, yada, yada. And this is something that Doug brought to me, 3 months ago as a requirement from the IBM Cloud teams. Okay.
Yep.
So a good cap for for next year to be tracking this.
Yep.
So it's okay to it, but
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. So if you don't mind, Mike, if you can just put the link for that particular issue if it's already open up, right? Or cap. The one thing I was
the cap hasn't been open yet. I don't have a number for you yet. It just got approved this week.
Oh, okay. I see. Yeah. So one thing, which can be really useful for tracking purpose, right? Like you mentioned, instead of keeping even on your local environment, on your node, or even on this Google Doc, right?
Yeah.
We if at least 3 of us on the call and other people who gonna view the videos and anyone. I mean, if you can spread the word, and we have tried best to spread the word as well. So we have label for this provider sub-project, right? IBM Cloud Provider. So
right.
Labeling all those, anything which has been opened, right? Whether it's an issue or something else, right? Cap or whatever is on the GitHub. If we just add the label for the provider IBM Cloud, that will be really easy to find.
Exactly.
Right. So I mean, if any of us see it, I would say please add label ourselves. If or in the different meetings, Mike, please let people know too, right? That hey guys, use this label if you are opening something related to IBM products, right? So that it's really useful, right? I mean, that's the whole purpose of label. So
I'll put an example here. Let me put one in here that needs tracking.
Yep. So we only had a couple labels so far.
Right.
There's something for the cube mark. There's some other thing related to the cube mark as well.
Right.
We have lots of label on the API side. On the cluster API side, we have used a lot. Right. So let me open that link. Writing.
That one's user namespace remapping. It was opened a few years ago, and it's a dead issue, but IBM needs it for security reasons. So I put it up at Signode again. I did bring this one up at Signode, but this is one of the ones that I need marketing help from you guys to put up the cloud chain.
Gotcha. So is this this issue, like you said, it's 2016.
It's one that's important to IBM.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And it's stale. It's an open feature that's been stale for years, and it needs some focus.
Right. Do we have anybody from from our side working
Just
on
me.
it, or okay?
Just me.
Yeah.
which is yeah. I can be the link on this for now, but
yeah.
Yeah, we don't have any IBMer working on the issue other than me right now. So.
Yeah. Okay.
And mostly I'm just trying to understand it and see what needs to be done and why it fell. You can see there's a PR that was created for it, and it just sort of died here.
Mm-hmm.
And I suspect it's because there's not enough visibility to some of these, that they just get old over time. People aren't worried about multi-tenant issues. We're a little bit more worried about multi-tenant issues, right?
Yep.
And these multi-tenant PRs, that maybe if we had a list of maybe we get other cloud providers to agree at least the ones that want multi-tenancy, right, would agree that these PRs need some resource.
It's related in any way to the hierarchical namespaces that they're looking at doing?
Yes. Yeah, well, they were looking at doing just the PID one, and I brought up that we need more than just PID. We need user, we did user namespace mapping as well. But yeah, these namespaces are hierarchical. Yeah, and again, the main issue is that most runtimes just assign root, and for the hierarchy, they don't allow you to use assigned IDs for the PID namespace or for the user namespace. For file systems, they do. There's like 3 namespaces that are hierarchical in Kubernetes today, but not all of them. Okay.
Okay. It seems like that cap that you listed, or that issue 127, probably should, and maybe you've already done this somehow on the multi-tenant working group's radar, if they want to help move that forward. Yeah,
that's a good point. I would hope they would know about this one.
Hopefully they do.
I haven't been to the multi-tenant working group. I focus on Signode.
Sure.
Right. Honestly, I didn't even know there was a multi-tenant working group.
I didn't either till about 30 seconds ago.
Well, maybe they put it together to work on this one and the PID namespace.
I'll add a link that I found to a Google Doc for that hierarchical namespaces, and then that led me to the multi-tenant working group. Excellent.
Yep. Yeah. See, that's really why I was asking the question. So it'd be nice if we had a place where we could, put this collection of information that we need, around the features we need, right, in Kubernetes. Where are the groups, where are the caps, where are the issues and PRs that we need to track, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think some of these things that are applicable to, as we look at, buy-in, obviously, if we get other cloud providers interested as well.
Yeah,
cloud provider SIG meeting.
We might be able to pool some personal resources as well, to help work on them. So
right. And I did link in one here as well. Since you mentioned it, I added another issue. IBM. This was actually opened by it's being driven by a network team in IKS. This is the mixed protocols for services load balancers. So I added that in as well. So we can kind of, I think going forward, it would be good to know what's going on at the minimum, and then see what we can do to help out teams. Yep. Cool.
So Mike, Richard, I think good idea that both those issues we add the IBM Cloud Provider label there as an interested party there.
Sure, I think so.
Okay.
How do we go about doing that? I don't have. You just had.
Yeah, I think at least I think Mike or I can add there, Richard. Yeah, you probably.
Okay, because it didn't show as an option for me anyway.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because they may say, okay, that's good. Can you talk to it, right? Can you tell us why IBM needs this stuff, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's true, Mike. So I mean, adding the label is for our tracking purpose, right? So we can easily find it that how many things are there which are of our interest, right? Later on, or any of these meetings, right? We can just go take a look. So the point you mentioned, was something second point I had in my mind to talk to. Like, do you wanna come to the cloud provider meeting and Mike talk about it, because this thing, and just brief it to everybody there if you think we should let the cloud provider team know about it and see if they're interested.
Yeah, sure. Once we built up a good story, yeah, we should bring it, and then they put it on the schedule and tell me when it's going to be there, and I'll show up and answer questions, and yeah, we can do that.
Okay, that sounds good, Richard. I know.
And that's probably the level of information that we need, right? Anyway, in the wherever we put this stuff, right, we should probably have okay, who are the people that are pushing it? Who are the people that need it? Why do they need it? Just a little description. And then hopefully, we can talk to it and cut and paste and give them the text and stuff like that, right?
Yeah. So, Richard, do you think the cloud provider folks will be interested in this, or I mean, you have any just thinking perspective? Do you have any
I
thoughts,
think that if there is a cloud provider impact, then I think they would be interested in it. So like that last one, the load balancer one, certainly has cloud provider impacts, to the code base itself. In that, they would be interested. Multi-tenant, I think in general, cloud providers would be, but I think it would, the impact to the actual SIG. I'm not sure if they're interested in knowing about it unless there's, something that would be, they would have to work on themselves. Cause I know they're super busy, so I'd rather not bring up something that wouldn't have impact to their ongoing work.
That's what I was thinking too, that they would like to hear, oh, okay, this is good stuff, whatever, but it seems like doesn't belong to their code repo, right? I mean, it's not something that they're like, hey, you know what, we can help you do it or something, right? Because like you say, it's not part of the cloud provider work, right? But I guess, briefing them, if you think it's a good idea, then at least people at least know it, if, and on the, the actual multi-tenant repo, right, or node repo, if you need some sort of votes, right, like who are interested, if they may say, hey, this is something good for any cloud provider kind of things. Does that make sense, Mike? Like as Richard said, yeah, okay. So we can wait on.
I put the one about the policy management on there too at the bottom of the list. Just added another one.
Okay.
Where the issue was brought up originally, right? That's not a cap, but.
So my one, because I'm interested in the pull images. See, that's something that gets targeted for the CIS benchmark, saying that you should set always pull images on the admission controller to force this to prevent the situation.
Yeah, that's ugly. That's ugly as hell.
Right. And we've
And you have no choice. If you're multi-tenant, you have to do it right now. Right. That's the only that's the only choice you have. Now I looked at the code. I looked at the code to make this better, but there's just too many side cases. I couldn't fix Kubelet to do. I was trying to fix this. Right, just with a simple PR, but there were just too many limitations. The problem is you can put on the node the image before you even try to load the first pod. So I couldn't even keep a list of which pod pulled the image. I couldn't even do that because I don't know for sure a pod ever pulled the image.
Right? I see.
So I could give you a 30-minute discussion about this topic, but. The short of it is we need better policy management at the Kubernetes level so that we can get down to the container runtime some directives on whether or not they can cache this stuff or not. Today we don't. The way it works is the opposite. We ask the runtime if the image is already on the machine or not. Mm-hmm. If the image is already on the machine or not, then we look at the policy choices that you've made, which are very simple and basic, and determine if they apply in this case, right? So therefore, you have to have an image pull always policy, if you want to make sure that nobody else can take your image. It's really odd. The logic behind how this whole thing works is messed up because Kubernetes wants to be the policy manager, of the image, but the image management is happening at the runtime.
I see.
So the only choice they have is to say, well, you got to pull it every time if you want to be secure across pods for the image, because I just don't have a way to make that happen. Why? Because container runtimes don't know what a pod is.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sort of funny, but yeah, they literally don't know what a pod is, a container runtime. There's modules inside the container runtimes to support the container runtime interface APIs for pods. But again, those runtimes, those Docker runtime type runtimes, they really don't have the concept of a pod. Well, anyways, so we need a KEP for that. We need a KEP for quite a few of these things, and we need to be pushing those. And I think that'll be a good thing for us to do for this year is try to get some movement going forward for multi-tenancy support. And security and encryption and all that kind of stuff, which is IBM value, right? Add to this whole thing.
For sure. Yep.
Of course.
Which is good for us. We've got we got people doing the encryption stuff, right? Brendan Lum, and that all applies to all of these things, right? What does IBM Cloud need? Well, they need secure, encrypted, private data, right? Across tenants and across clusters. All right.
Yep. Oh, that sounds good. And yeah, yes, we those are good things to do. Absolutely. Anything else?
Where do you want to keep this stuff? Did you say you had a place, the Docs Google heading?
Well, no. This is the place,
this is a good
actually.
Spot here?
Yeah. This is the one. Yep. This is the one. I think that's how pretty much all other folks do as well. Keeping it here as part of the discussions. Now, as I said, Mike, one more time, I think if you want to add the label, the provider label to these issues. So in that case, everything is at one place on GitHub, right? And you search by label, you have a list of 5 issues or 500 issues, right? I think that's the best place to track it.
Okay, so so just add a provider label to these and/or any caps, and then so it works for issues. Now that makes sense. And then you can search for it.
Yep, and the label is let me put it in the search here in the chat here. All right, so yeah, just 1 second. Area provider IBM Cloud, that's a label. Right. So if you can add the label, then I think that's one place, right? One page giving all of the things which we want to track, and look at it. Yeah. There's no human error there, right? Once we have those things, unless we forget to add label into something, we open in the future, we don't have the label, we can track, right?
Okay, I'm adding that comment next to where you said use labels to track. I'm adding the e.g. Air Provider IBM Cloud.
Yeah, exactly. That's the label name.
Yep.
So yeah, if you can add those,
that we lose the Zoom. We lose the Zoom comment chat at the end of the meeting, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Now, this is, if it's, and typically I feel like, hey, search in the label with IBM Cloud, and that actually gives the whole label, right? If you forget.
Cool.
Yeah. But yeah, it's good, like having it in the agenda to take a look later on. So that's definitely good stuff. Okay, so anything there else, Mike, you wanna talk about, or that's we good there for now?
No, I think he did mention, Richard did mention that there's a collection of PRs around this. So this is the initial list. We'll have to keep beefing that up. And
yeah, and exactly, as we find related issues, related PR, related anything, just add the label and keep it everything under one, right? So yeah, okay. All right. Well, the next thing was I think for the KubeCon we will have a one session for the SIGs and sub projects. So I think for you guys well, no, container is a different thing. It's a project itself. So for the SIGs and the working groups or sub project under SIG, they're gonna have one session. So I guess Richard, myself, and Khalid will be sending the one where we talked earlier, right? And we'll see
good.
if you can
Yep.
join. Yeah, and if you can make it, then we all three can try to do it, or we'll see. Right?
Okay.
Yeah. So I think the deadline is 20th, so we still have 5 days. I wanted to talk to Brad, but like I said, for the past couple of days, he is totally busy. So I haven't submitted yet, but I will submit one maybe by end of this week, before the deadline. That's pretty much it, I guess. So anything else, Richard, Mike, from your side?
No.
Nope. Okay. Yeah. So
Nothing else on my side.
yeah, it's a good discussion, and I will try to update the calendar and other things to move this from bi-weekly to monthly. I guess yeah, we'll bring it to the cloud provider SIG meeting as well, Richard, so this they know it as well. We will update their page. Yeah, so that's to do for me.
Okay. If there's been some update, like I said, we can always come to this document and put it in there, right? I do like the idea of having the details in the agenda, but then maybe some appendix or other location where we've got some some high visibility stuff that we're trying to track, right?
Yeah, that's true, Mike, and that's actually, if you look at the top of this document, right?
Yeah, potential future topics, right?
Yeah. So we can add like another future topic suggestions. Interested sort of tracking
yeah,
topics, or yeah, right. Yeah. So if you can, if you want to add one,
it can get a little wordy. If it gets wordy, you could always move discussion to the bottom or something, right?
Exactly. If it's like more than few bullets or something, then we move it at the very bottom.
Right. Yeah. If the link doesn't cover it, right? Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly.
Or maybe a link to you're probably going to need at some point some charts for some of these issues if it's something you're going to present. So it might be nice to have a link to the more detail, right? Somewhere else on.
Yeah, I mean,
what's that box or whatever? Yeah.
The box knot.
Yeah, maybe a link to.
Yeah, that's the internal though, right? I mean.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is all public.
Exactly. This is all exactly. Any internal discussion, yeah, we can do the box. These meetings and everything we discuss is pretty much external, so we try to put it here as well, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yep.
All right. Yep. All right.
Yeah, but I will create something on this page, Mike. Maybe like you said, the top, maybe at the bottom, and we can add certain things which is public. For the whole group, basically for the whole sub-project folks interested in. So.
Right. I don't know. Does it make sense to have a link from here to an internal box note?
No, I don't think so. Nah, we should not. No.
You don't even want to have a link that says here's where you go to get internal.
Yeah, I wouldn't even mention internal. I mean, honestly, to me, yeah, I'm sure everyone has the internal discussions. It's needed, but
okay.
Yeah, this particular group it's external group, right? So I mean, everything which is on here, it's external.
And that's fine. Yeah, and I don't think any of the topics we're going to cover IBM internals. But.
Exactly right. I mean, these are the things which we want actually, do it externally, right? So as part of this,
okay.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I was more thinking. I guess when I'm with the like Signode and stuff, if they want to link to more detail, they'll just create a Google Doc for it. And I just mentioned Box because we generally use that for for our internal stuff. But
Yep. No, I agree. And I was about to say another Google Doc, but then I'm like, instead of 2 Google Doc, we just keep this one which we have, right?
all right.
And just have everything in one place, like maybe at the bottom of the doc, like you said, if anybody interested, we can take a look. Maybe at the top, we write a note that, hey, there are more details at the bottom of the doc. Yeah.
All right. All right. That'll work. Yeah, I'm just thinking forward.
Yeah. Cool.
Trying to decide where do I want to do all my notes.
Yeah.
I don't want to cut and paste all my notes into here. All right.
I know. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, buddy.
Yep. No, thank you. This was good meeting, good discussion. I loved it. So yep. Well, there's another topic. I guess we can call this a meeting and continue doing this. Yeah.
February.
Yep. Yep. And the next month. Yeah. Exactly. Cool. Richard,
right.
Anything from you? No.
Nothing else. I appreciate it.
Yep. Sure. Cool. Well, thank you both so much, and have a nice rest of the day. And talk to you later then.
All right.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Yep. Bye.